don't think they're comparable.
let me say this though. The truth of the matter is a large swath of America, I'll say even a majority of Americans, don't even are tuned out of these spaces. So what we really have are Americans who are politically active, who are politically engaged, who go to their echo chambers. You got the echo chamber on the left and the echo chamber on the right. And let me tell you why sometimes it seems, but I'm telling y'all, it's a myth that Black Americans, by and large, are somehow represented well or adherents of the left. It's because spaces on the right, Malcolm X said that the white liberal had mastered the art of pretending to be the Negro's friend. So we don't get the blatant anti-blackness on the left. Oh, it's there. Look at our communities and look at who we've been voting for the past 60 years. That's the anti-blackness. But on the right, we get the baby mama, baby daddy stereotypes. We get the y'all have failed to pull yourselves up by your bootstraps. We get the fuck your reparations. We get all that nastiness coming from the right. So when you have Black people who are politically engaged, they're going to go to the side that just seems to be the less hostile, even though that side is actually even more hostile because they're supposed to be representing you with policies, but instead they just give you a symbolic representation, a few symbolic victories. They may give a Black person a job, like Ketanji Jackson Brown. That's supposed to somehow lift off 50, 55 million of us, do something for us, and it doesn't. So that's why sometimes we have this misconception that Black Americans, by and large, are lefties, which I'm telling y'all, if anyone
Well,
actually is in Black
Marcel, we're
communities,
conservatives
we
at home, but
conservative,
Democrats at the ballot
exactly.
box.
Black
It's
Americans
been this
are
way
largely
for a long time.
largely conservative. The problem is, and I've been to MAGA rallies, I've been to American Patriot rallies, and one thing I appreciate about those spaces are two things. One, they are willing to have intellectual discourse. When I mention reparations, they don't throw tomatoes and all walk out. They sit there and we have those conversations. Two, they acknowledge that the white right, white conservatives and the non-black conservatives, but even Black conservatives, and they have allowed bigots to feel too comfortable saying that they represent the white right or that they represent conservatism. There has been a unfortunate conflation of being conservative and being on the right with bigotry. And that is something that the right is going to have to address. Why bigots sometimes feel more comfortable being blatant bigots on the right. Now, me, I like my bigotry blatant. I like to see who you are. Show me who you are, and I can deal with you accordingly. But that's where that misconception comes from. And that's why sometimes you go on these college campuses and you get these little boulets think they're elitist Blacks. They are usually the ones who are really aligned with the far left. Most of the nastiness I have faced has not come from white conservatives. It has not come from the American patriot types. The nastiness I have faced, 98% of it has come from Black people who think that who thinks that being a Democrat is more important than being Black. And even Black Americans. That's where most of the nasties I face. That's where most of the slander I face has come from. That's where a lot of the personal attacks I have faced has come from. Yes, I've gotten some hate messages from these wannabe white supremacist types, but a lot of the hatred I come from have come from those same types, Devon, who probably gave you hell on Georgetown campus or called you a coon. So the reason the right sometimes doesn't have the same reach among the Black political spectra is because they welcome too much blatant bigotry, whereas the left is just as bigoted by neglecting us and feeding BS to us and putting on these Black faces and making it seem like all we care about is aborting Black babies. When I can tell you, here in the South, you talk to the average Black family, abortion is not something we even think about. Usually, here, a person has a baby, the family member is going to take that baby in if the person who gave birth to that child is not able to do so. That's why you'll see an aunt sometimes raising their nieces and nephews, or you'll see sometimes a grandmother with their grandchildren until the parents get on their feet. Like this whole confiscation of guns. I'm here in the South. Black Americans are just as much gun aficionados as white Southerners. Trust you, we are. But the right is missing out on opportunities to do that. And that is the fault of the right. for not engaging a lot of black voters out here. Because the truth be told, just like with white voters, over 50-55% of black voters aren't even active. And they're just not being, they're
So then why should they waste their time going after the black vote when it's only 15% of the population, and on top of that, about 50% aren't politically engaged? The reality is this, guys. Most Americans are fucking stupid. They don't understand how the world works. They don't have a passport. They've never left their state. They can't even name 3 countries a lot of the times. And they're idiots. And the thing is that the left is cooler nowadays. It's cooler to be liberal. It's cooler to be super edgy and woke. That's what's cool. That's the problem with the conservative side for the long time, is that it hasn't been cool. Thankfully, there's some more creators coming out there that are conservative. There's some more creators coming. Hold on, let me finish my point, bro. Let me finish my point.
But we're 33, we're like,
let me finish my point.
Million, with 30
You're lagging right now.
People who actually vote. First of all, Asian Americans are a smaller contingent of the population. People still engage them. A huge percentage of the Hispanic population can't even vote. And you got people tripping over themselves to do things for illegal immigrants. And that includes the Republican Party. You even got people reach out to Native Americans who are like 2% of the population. So let's stop acting like 15% is such a small percentage where it's a damn lot. And 15% is actually an undercount because the census admits they undercount us by 3 or 4%. And in the South, Black Americans are usually in states like Georgia, Alabama, Louisiana, Mississippi, South Carolina, 30% or more of the population. So it's not a waste of time. Just like it's not a waste of time.
It is.
What? Just not like,
they're not a majority, bro. And the reality is, if the way you're going to get the black voters is by giving them handouts, you guys cry about reparations. You guys want handouts all the time. That's just the reality. Let's call a spade a fucking spade. The black community wants handouts all the time. That's what you guys want.
So, is it a handout when intern Japanese Americans or their children got reparations? Was it a handout when these Native American tribal governments get settlements that sometimes go to them with direct cash payments? Is it a handout when Holocaust survivors and their descendants get direct cash payment? Is it a handout when the downwinders get paid their reparations?
So let me ask you a question then, since you're a pro-reparation guy. Let me ask you a question. Number one, how much money... Hold on. Yo, nobody can hear you, bro. Your internet sucks. Your internet sucks. Nobody can hear you. Your shit is lagging bad. Okay? Fix your fucking dial-up internet that you got. Your AOL. You know, your fucking... I just got online. Let me finish my point here, okay? Because you reparation guys always want handouts, and it's fucking ridiculous to me because here's my question. If you're going to go ahead and say, I want reparations, like all these other fucking crybabies, let me ask you this. Number one, who's going to pay for it? Number two, how do we identify who deserves it and who's going to get it? Number three, how are we going to be able to trace back lineage to identify you as a foundationally Black American? How far back are we going to go? Like, none of this stuff actually makes sense. And this is the problem when you want handouts. Who's going to pay for it and how are you going to actually implement it?
I have answered those questions. So first of all, the payments will come from where it's always come from, the federal government, like it's
the middle class. The middle class, because you're paying for it. The middle class is going to pay for it.
Answering your question. I'm answering your question. Number two, how do they identify who the foundational Black American? Before I even answer that, let's talk about handouts. You got a handout when your family was able to come here from war-torn, poverty-stricken Sudan. So let's not talk about handouts when I'm speaking with a living, walking, talking handout right now. Number three, the government can identify who's a foundational Black American. Excuse me, you are talking to a man right now whose great-grandmother was raised by someone who was formerly enslaved. My great-grandmother died in 2015 at 101. That's how recent slavery was. Jim Crow and redlining, those things didn't enter to the 1970s. So you're easily able to identify who is a Black American and who's a Black immigrant. The federal government knows who comes here.
And the Black immigrants come here and do a lot better than the FBAs. You guys were born and raised here, speaking English language. You always make fucking excuses for why you're not successful. FBA's always got excuses. How come Nigerians come over here and kill it? And you guys are always crying about fucking reparations, man. It's ridiculous.
All you have is emotionalism. You cannot
Emotionalism?
You cannot refute anything I just said, because if you're going to make that argument...
Well, number one, you're lagging. Nobody can hear you. You keep fucking lagging because you're on AOL dial-up. You got mail-type internet. That's why nobody could fucking hear you. You're out there in the boonies. Your internet sucks.
Look at it. Turn your microphone off, and you'll be able to hear me better. Okay, thank you. The truth of the matter is, you You have not been able to intellectually refute anything I've said because
I just did.
the same arguments you're trying to make against reparations for us, you are not making against all those other groups I just named. Because I'm waiting for you to address the coal miners, the downwinders, the Native Americans, the intern Japanese, the Guamanians, the Holocaust survivors and their descendants, even though the Holocaust didn't even take place here on U.S. soil. If you're going to make those arguments against reparations for freemen, then you got to make those arguments against those people. And in the case of those people, it's not the ones who were necessarily done wrong, the people who were actually alive at that time. It's sometimes going to their children, grandchildren, great grandchildren. So if you're going to call it handout, then you got to talk about the GI Bill. My great grandfather is a World War
Serving your country and being black is not the same thing, bro. What the fuck? Are you serious?
father. My great grandfather is a World War II veteran. He was
Then he deserves the reparations, not you, bro. Then he deserves it, not you. That's the fucking difference. Like, why are you trying to get handouts on your granddaddy? That's ridiculous.
Please stop crying.
That's ridiculous.
Put on your big boy pants and wipe the tears from your eyes, okay? My great grandfather is a.
You're the one crying for reparations.
He is still alive. He's 100 years old. He never got.
So give him the money. Give him the money, not you.
He never got a penny from the GI Bill. That means wealth is not built in a day in America. Anyone who's honest can tell you this. Wealth is built over generations. He was denied the opportunity to pass wealth down to my grandmother, okay? While the 15 million white veterans got the GI Bill. I'm glad they got it. I'm not mad they got it. I'm just saying it was wrong for the federal government to not do it for everyone. So people who are saying that the federal government does not have to repair the wrong it did, you are sending a message to the federal government that a lot of people on the right are now saying is tyrannical. You're sending them a message that it's okay for them to do wrong and to do right by others, but not to do right by someone else. And that's a scary message to send this government. Truth be told, the New Deal, when Roosevelt did the New Deal, that was trillions of dollars invested in jobs and projects. It excluded many Black Americans. My great grandmother told me she was excluded from the benefits of many New Deals. Okay, the Social Security Act, the Labor Union Act. My great grandparents, who all died in the 2000s, were all alive when those things happened, and they were all excluded from it. They were excluded from opportunities to build wealth. Again, I'm not mad that America helped and did for other groups, but it's wrong that they didn't do for my group. And for anyone to say that they don't have to repair it, you are saying to the government that they can have a double standard, that it's okay to have justice for some and not justice for all. Now, maybe that works in your native Sudan, but that's not how things should work here in America. And again, you are here on a handout. You're in a country.
Okay, I'm here on a handout. Yep. So explain this to me then. Okay, I'm here on a handout, right? I'm here on a handout, but for some odd reason, my parents came here, didn't speak the language, were able to make something of themselves, buy a fucking house, earn $100K per year, and they never asked for a cent. But you're over here, born and raised here, American passport, English is your first language, you got free education, yet you're crying and complaining about the very system that put you in a position where you're at right now. That's what I'm trying to say. You guys aren't appreciative for shit. You just want to cry for reparations and handouts. That's the problem.
Visa, and they got it. And let me tell you,
your granddaddy deserved the money, not you, motherfucker. That's the difference.
Education.
I got a show to do. So I'm gonna leave. You're fucking nobody. Nobody cares what you got to say. Get the fuck out of here, man. You fucking FBAs are ass clowns.
Paid for my education, and they paid for yours. So you are the one getting the free handout. You came here on the infrastructure that was built in large part, not say only, by my people. So Myron, you are a living, breathing, walking, talking handout. Your family only was able to exist here because of handouts. And that's why I get so offended with people like you and even Vivek come here and say that certain Americans should not be able to vote unless they pass a test because his parents had to pass immigration test. Excuse me, Vivek, your parents chose to come here. And if he's going to say that people should not be able to vote because they got to do what his parents did, then I can say to him that he should not be allowed to come to America unless he has done what my parents and grandparents had to do, fight in wars, could build this country's infrastructure. So don't you dare come here and talk about what we should be grateful for when you should be grateful for us. Because if it wasn't for the Civil Rights Act of 1964, Myron and your family would not have been allowed to come here. So be grateful, be thankful, and shut up.
Immigrants and anchor babies are out of control. Myron Gaines from the Fresh and Fit Demonetized podcast, formerly on YouTube, now on Rumble.
Again!
have Black Americans in his mouth. I believe not just figuratively also. He wants to be a part of the culture just to say the N-word. That's it. Yet lives a Vivek Ramaswamy lifestyle. His parents ran from Sudan to come to America to get away from the horrors there. Yet he's calling Black Americans lazy and every other stereotype in the book. He is and will forever be a piece of shit. Putting a battery in these racists back. They are as lame as him. I went down a rabbit hole in the cesspool known as X, formerly Twitter. They have something in common. The anti-American blackness is off the chain. You have far too many foreign blacks feeling way too comfortable talking shit while using Black American culture. The effing audacity of the peons of the pale slipping hegemony. A Sudanese walking handout and anchor baby said, why should Black American vote be considered? Because we do not vote. He said we're stupid, don't have passports, can't name 3 countries outside of the United States, never left the States, and are idiots. It's edgy to be woke. We are a waste of time. We want reparations, handouts. He's mad because Marcel cut his bitch ass. He's sitting up here talking about things he has no idea about. And the one question that I would pose to him is, you're sitting up here talking about ADOS and how we want reparations, we want handouts, but yet your family got handouts to be able to run away from Sudan and everything that's going on there. And what about reparations, since you're calling it handouts? What about reparations? Of course, there was the Japanese, the Jewish, which I will never understand that. But since they want to be tethered to their, it's a U.S. built, quote, fake state of Israel, but I know because it's a proxy for the United States and taking everybody's gold, oil, diamonds, precious metals, resources, all of that. So that's why. But they're over there colonizing, terrorizing, and setting up coups over there. But he wants to praise the United States for doing what it's doing. And they want to be seen as more intelligent. But the more they talk, the stupider you see that they are. They so badly want to sit up here and say they're better than, they're smarter than. But at every turn, this idiot. What about the actual slave owners who got reparations for losing their slaves? What about them? He would be stuck. He wouldn't be able to say anything. He'd just go on his normal rant like he used to do the women who would come on his podcast. His demonetized podcast that was formerly monetized on YouTube, but now on Rumble. But yeah, he's been bitter and bitch ever since. And he's struggling with some personal sexual identity issues as well. But now all of a sudden he wants to grift to politics, and as if, oh my God, not this idiot, just not this idiot. But, they have so much audacity while enjoying the rights we fought for. And Black Americans, we are always in the mouth of everyone. Black women, we can be minding our business, chewing our gum, filing our nails, and somebody will just randomly bring us up in the middle of some BS because they're jealous. These MFers are jealous, from the Brits, the Black Brits, to the foreigners, to the islanders, all the way to the German Shepherd that was popping her BS on TikTok. They wish. They try and mimic us all the time. They always have something to say. And they are so dismissive and so disrespectful for people who are so dumb, so just the worst of the worst, the bottom of the barrel, for people who are so uneducated, so classless. We are always on your mind, in your mouth, on your tongue, on your thoughts, hopes, and dreams. It's just, it doesn't make sense, does it? But it does, because they can see you for who you are, and they are in awe of it, but they are so fucking jealous of it. It's dripping out of every pore in their body. Because basically him, and there has been some other, foreign Black people who have, joked about us not knowing our original language, joked about us being enslaved. Yet, if we as Black Americans start dragging tribes for participating in said slave trade, if we throw them in on you're going to give us reparations, or you give us an oil spot, or you give us a diamond mine or something, then they'll start looking stupid. Also, if we joked and laughed about apartheid and colonism, oh, it would never fucking end. Yet they're so educated and classy. They engage in this low IQ behavior, unable to use their words, having a very, very limited vocabulary. I mean, I would say let's get into this and drag, but I'm not finna even pay dust to these wannabes. They are wannabe. They are torn with, they are ingratiated in our culture, in our, they want to wear us like a costume. And they are compelled to come bend on their knees and kiss the ring, but they hate it so much. Them, the colorless ones and the colorless adjacent ones. You have the mixed people in South Africa talking shit. You've got islanders, Jamaicans, and some Haitians talking shit. You have someone out of each fucking country in Africa, which it wasn't called Africa, that's named after a white man, just like America, and you're sitting up here thinking you're better than. How the fuck can all the shit that's going on in these countries show a light of better? People are coming in there whooping your ass and taking your shit. It's embarrassing. That shit is embarrassing. It's wrong. And a lot of this rhetoric of them coming from over there and coming over here doing better is bullshit. These are not the average person who lives in a country in Africa or in the islands. These are not just your regular day-to-day people who are working class. These people had some type of influence status or something that helped them along the way, that had them in a position to be able to even immigrate somewhere else. So this is not your average day-to-day person. This is somebody. This is classism. It is. And, anybody who is working class, who wants to engage in this is silly, because you're supporting people who even, I would imagine that they think they're better than their fellow African who does not have the resources they do. But I'm dealing with them coming over here, always have something to say about Black Americans. All I have to say is F you, and continue to be inspired and influenced by our greatness. Once we do get these reparations, because we will get them, we're going to get so much that is going to be ridiculous. It's going to happen, period. I'm not even going to discuss that. I don't care what anybody says. Why do they keep screaming, no, you're not, and fighting against this if it's not going to happen? If they really, really felt it wasn't going to happen, they'd be like, you're crazy, you're foolish, we're not even going to talk about this, it's never going to happen. But they keep crying and whining and mad because we're pushing, and usually when we push, we get what the fuck we want, and we're going to get it. And we're going to get the appropriate amount down to the fucking penny. Now, I'm going to go ahead and leave it right there. They can continue to be big bad. They can continue to make TikToks talking about, oh, you were enslaved, you don't know who you are, you don't know your traditions, you can go ahead and keep laughing as plague after plague after plague hits your bitch ass, and don't wonder why. But I'll go ahead and leave it right here. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you in the next one.